So that's where you were at the time, and then is there is there an injury? Is there a moment that prompts you? Yo, let me see a chiropractor. What brings you to Dr. Zev?
Yeah,
friend.
So indirectly, you remember Buddy from high school?
Yeah, Buddy from Goldman.
From Goldman.
Blonde-haired kid,
Yeah. So he was an assistant for Dr. Zev, and I was at a house party one time, and he was telling me, like, I told him that I was missing a trap muscle in my back, right? But it was congenital. Like, I was born without it. I came to find that out later on down the road, right? But it was in my back, so I thought it was connected with a chiropractor based off what he was telling me.
You're missing an actual trap or a muscle in your trap?
So the trap has 3 divisions. It has the upper trap, the middle trap, and the lower trapezius, right?
Put a little.
Yeah. So the lower trapezius, I'm missing it, but it's congenital, meaning that I was born without that part. And I've done like all types of rehabs, all different types of functional training to try to like reestablish the connection between my brain and that muscle, and that's missing. But there's no connection there, so that tells me that it's a congenital thing.
That's crazy. I'm trying to. I mean, I don't have earlobes, but that's.
I'll show you guys. I'll show you guys in the.
That's great. Yeah, we could take pictures.
I got you. I got you. It looks crazy,
dude.
And it's not something that somebody sees from the outside in very easily.
You have to point it out to them.
Yeah, you have to point it out.
I've never noticed it. We've worked out. We've hung out. We've played sports.
Yeah,
together.
and the reason why it's important though, from a functional standpoint, is that that muscle is responsible for keeping your shoulder girdle and your scapula placed back like this. So you'll notice that my left shoulder rocks a little bit more forward. And no matter how many times you adjust this shoulder, like it's not going to go back into place. It's because that muscle is responsible for keeping it back, like pulling that shoulder.
Compensating for the missing muscle.
Right? Yep.
Wow.
Yep. And then my upper traps, even when I'm doing like back movements, it gets more of that pressure and that compression because it's taking that load that otherwise that lower trapezius would have.
So you're in a house party telling Buddy about this pain, and he's telling you, "Oh wow, I work for a doctor."
Yeah, and he's telling me, he's like, he doesn't have like an in-depth explanation
of
what it is,
okay.
But he has a general sense,
right?
He
points you the direction.
He points me in the direction. He's like telling me about the nerves and stuff like that. And at this point, I'm pursuing the bodybuilder stuff and like the personal training, so I understand a little bit, right? So I go to the doctor's office, and it was crazy because he explained the same thing more in depth that Buddy was telling me. But it wasn't until I felt the adjustment that like my whole life just fucking altered right there.
What were one of the noticeable things, the first noticeable things when you say your whole life adjusted, when things changed for you? What's something you think back like, oh, wow, this is different?
Right. So one of the first things that I felt immediately that was from a sensory standpoint was my breathing, right? Like I didn't have any issues with my breathing, but it's like you don't know what normal is, or you don't know what normal is until you experience it.
Yes.
Right? So I didn't feel like I had any breathing issues at the time, but as soon as I got that adjustment, I felt my airways just like expand, took a big deep breath, and it just felt like I was super saturated with oxygen at that point in time. And like that goes back to what I was telling you, like your senses get heightened.
I'm realizing that now. Context for everybody, I just got adjusted for the first time in my life before we started rolling, and I did feel the visual and a little bit of the audio, but right now I've been dealing with breathing problems for a bit, and it's less work now for me to get a profound breath. That is crazy. Wow, it's all connected.
It's all connected, bro. The whole body is connected, and that's why it's important not to try to isolate things and try to trick or treat the symptom, right? You want to look at the whole body as a whole because it's working together. Right. But if you try to cut off one part, then everything else has to compensate for it. If you take medication because let's say you injured your ankle, right, and then you numb that pain, but then you're still working out or you're still doing some sort of movement, you're numbing the symptoms of it, you're numbing the sensation of it, but the injury is still there.
Yeah.
And you're gonna even further injure it.
If anything, doing more damage than help, because in the long term it's just going to be a worse pain, and you'll probably aggravate other things because your body starts overcompensating in different ways. Crazy. So and then you did the Back to Human podcast. Shout out to what's the name of the host for the podcast? Chris made a crazy analogy to on that episode, in that conversation, the first time you got adjusted, it felt like the first time you did testosterone.
Yeah.
What does that feel like? I've never done testosterone. I've yet to do anabolic steroids. You know, one time I tried like Anavars to kind of cut down on weight.
Yeah.
Terrible. I didn't do it correctly either. So I don't know how that feels. I guess is it like when I get with a Red Bull, when I drink a Red Bull and I'm like, oh, this is
Yeah.
that's what you feel when you
Dude,
get that?
so I mean, I was sauced up on it. I would take of like 500 milligrams of freaking test in one shot, like an
and
idiot.
that's more than like what normal people would
Yeah,
take within
yeah,
a cycle.
yeah. As you start to like learn about the body and what the chemistry of testosterone is and stuff like that, you'll notice that you don't really need that much in order to get the effects of it, right?
Yeah,
But I
less
was
is
taking
more. Yeah.
So what happens is that when you over exceed that certain point, when you overdose, it converts into estrogen in the body.
So that's why people get the boobs and stuff, right? That's where that comes
Exactly. Yep. And they get the mood swings and everything because they're taking too much, so the body is trying to dish it out and just convert it into different things in order to not make it toxic for the body.
But on the positive flip, like, what's like the energy that like, is that a real thing?
Oh, dude, yeah,
like
yeah,
a roid rage or whatever. Like, it's like
maybe it's placebo, but from my experience, I remember.
yeah, so it's not even.
No, it could be
right.
placebo, but from my experience, I felt like I did get more energy out of it. You do get a rise in blood pressure and stuff like that. Like here's the thing about steroids is that there's a time and a place for it, right?
Agreed.
And it's just gonna heighten whatever your lifestyle factors are, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you have a shitty diet, if you have poor sleep schedule, if you train like a fucking dickhead, it's just gonna heighten that.
Yeah.
It's gonna make you look sloppy as shit, right? But if you have everything dialed in, if you sleep 8 to 9 hours a night in order to recover from the damage that you're putting on your body, right? If you have the proper raw materials from the nutrition that you're eating, from the building blocks that you're getting from protein, right? It's going to be able to, absorb that a little bit better. And if you're using the right functional movements, then you're going to look solid. And you're going to perform at a solid level.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
So there's a science, there's a real feeling, there's a truth to feeling extra.
Yeah.
Like
That's why you see all these people in high elite, like they'll be juiced up and they have pimples everywhere because they eat like kids.
No, and the transition's crazy, man. Going to the same gym for multiple years, already you see people go through not just cycles of roids, but cycles in life where they're one person one day, and then a couple months later they look like their little brother, and it's like, yo, there's no way it's the same guy. You guys are related. Right?
I went through that. I lost like 20 pounds off like when I came off the juice like the first time, because one, I didn't know how to cycle off, and two, I was just. It wasn't. Here's the thing: is that people have to make it a habit first of being consistent in the gym, having everything dialed in before they even get on juice.
Exactly, it's a lifestyle. It's similar to everything in life. It's the foundation. You have to have a foundation set up in order to do anything extra on top of that. And at the end of the day, it's an external thing. Like it's it's something we don't have to get. We're outsourcing that. There's healthy, natural ways to get that energy, to get that feeling. You could get adjusted. You could get supplements. All kinds of the natural supplements.